back to
so much
a franchise that probably
shit.
shouldn't have been.
So
in
the
real
fact
life,
that I
you know.
still
Right. There's somebody
hit
said
that
it's like
wall
it's
really
stuff, but I'm like, no,
surprised
but there's a
me.
cool idea there.
Yeah.
You'll love it though. We need to get started, boys.
Welcome
On demand.
to an immediate abrupt start to another wonderful episode of Daft Movie Podcast. We're your hosts, Mason Dillon, Nathan, and Price, actually in that order. Today, what are we talking about? Mason.
We're talking about Bullet Train.
Bullet Train.
Yes.
Who picked this?
Mason did.
Mason, why did you pick this movie? We haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, good question.
Oh, we haven't.
You know, Netflix every so often puts a good chunk of money into a production, and maybe it's for casts, maybe it's for the actual scenes and setup and explosions, maybe it's for anything. This movie, I think, has a little bit of all that.
Mhm.
But
Mostly the cast.
this is not a Netflix original though.
No.
It was shot for theaters.
Shot for theaters, distributed by Netflix. They had
Yes.
distribution rights with it, but they didn't want to have it.
Who's the director on this?
Not Guy Ritchie.
I was gonna say, it
said,
feels like a
three
worst-
times.
It feels like a worse Guy Ritchie movie.
No.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
If you'd asked me when I had watched this, I would have immediately told you. But now it's been even a remotely amount of time, and I'm like, I just know it's not
Yeah.
Guy Ritchie.
I remember seeing it like pop up twice.
Yeah.
At the very, yeah. But
Yeah.
basically, this is just a movie that deals around, I don't know, about 4 different groups of people that are basically intertwining while the story is happening.
Mhm.
It is all based on a train, so you do have this bottle episode sort of format where they just keep passing each other.
David Leitch. That's
And
right.
and anyways, some stories conflict with others. This person needs a briefcase, but this person needs this person dead. Blah blah blah, and then
But these person want this person alive.
exactly.
Yes.
And I don't know, just a lot of chaos happens,
Mhm.
and towards the very end of the movie, all of the chaos happens, and that's pretty much it.
It has a similar like structure and storytelling to Snatch. I think this is
Snatch.
this
Very
is
similar.
yeah, this is the
Yeah.
closest we've gotten to like Snatch, like, and not necessarily in quality, that's subjective, but you know, in the essence of saying we've got multiple parties here with some with conflicting objectives and goals, all intertwining throughout the overall story and meeting, relatively speaking, in the end Avenger style. If
I
you
was
will.
also thinking like Ocean's 11, sort of like
Yeah.
again not
Yeah.
quite as good maybe, but a lot of people involved in a very, I don't know, big
intertwined
scheme.
story,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I'll tell you, the biggest thing I noticed on my rewatch of this was that I felt like this movie was advertised as being a lot more action focused. I didn't.
Yeah, the
feel
trailer
like-
is very front focused with that.
I
yeah.
didn't feel like that's what this movie was at all.
Oh,
It was
really?
way more, like we keep saying, Snatch like. It's more about the
Action comedy,
characters
right,
and like
right.
action comedy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think in that same way, a lot of the action isn't meant to be like necessarily propelling like the story forward or characters development, right? Most of it is for the sake of like the tone of the movie, the humor, a little bit just
that's a
embellishing
good way.
over the top, right?
That's a good way to put it.
Because
Yeah.
to me, like Lemon and Tangerine's backstory is not really dished out at all.
Mm-mm.
You just know who they are.
Oh, you do get the brief.
get the one
flashback.
I
flashback,
loved
yeah.
that, by the way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just the front facing identities of these people. You don't
Mhm.
get a lot of even the girl, which ended up being like a little bit more.
Joey King's.
Yeah, Joey King's character got to be a lot more. The Prince
Yeah.
was her title, but
Mhm.
like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of like the flashbacks and such, how much do you think Fuji Water paid to have that like
bottle
the
rolling
recap
around?
of what happened to the water bottle?
Every time like they did have the Fujiwara on, the label was
Yeah.
out towards the camera. Like it
Perfectly
wasn't
visible.
like facing any other way. Like it was at the camera.
Oh yeah.
I honestly didn't notice that except for like one time when he drank it like all
Yeah.
the way, and I was like, okay, that's
No,
obvious.
the product placement was strong in this movie.
Which
like,
is crazy because that's the only bottle that's shaped like a square.
Yeah, right.
Like,
you
they
don't
didn't
need
need
to
to do that.
You didn't even need to. But
Yeah.
God forbid any other person or the company
True.
prints it and then they're like, look, it's advertising for Sobe or something.
Mhm.
Like,
Now that was my hands down favorite part of the movie was when like it tracked the water.
oh, the
Like
water
how
camera.
they, the water camera and how
Yeah.
it tracked it. Like the way they shot it, like that was my favorite. I thought that was so cool.
No, I think the creative outlets of this movie really do the movies. It's its biggest strength is
It's
like
my favorite part.
yeah, I think like the cinematography and you know some of the overall art decisions for it were like really fun. The color palette does like a decent pop because they're you know using Japan bright neon color scenes with that, so that
The
everything.
text popping out.
Yes,
Was incredible. Like we talked about Warrior. Remember that one time when like the player cards would come up for Warrior? This person has this many nuggets. This many.
It's kind of similar to Creed's
fights.
whenever it does the Creed
Yes.
pause. Yeah.
Or like Scott Pilgrim when like crap just pops up on
Yeah.
the screen and it's like it's an arcade style.
Mhm.
I loved like the popping out of that stuff.
Yeah.
It had good style.
Yeah.
There
Right.
were a lot of points where the movie did have good style, but I mean, I'm a stickler when it comes to soundtracks a lot, and the fact that they used "I Need a Hero" in this movie, and it's not even good, and it's not even at the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
Just like, what are you doing? Like,
Not being cliche with the
don't
song.
do this.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna agree with you a little bit because I just watched the Super Mario Brothers and hearing that song.
that was
Wow.
the worst
Twice?
use of
Yeah.
it.
Oh my gosh, I wanted to strangle the song,
Yeah.
but it wasn't because of this movie. It was just because I heard it.
So
a lot,
you're talking about like the
Japanese
Japanese version of it.
My
Yeah.
I liked
hero.
I liked it.
I liked it.
Like,
I'm so tired of hearing it
I-
used poorly in movies.
I wasn't
After
bothered
Shrek
by
2
it.
did it, everybody just
Oh,
stopped.
nothing can live up to
Oh
Shrek.
my God.
Here we go.
Did it the best. It
Everything
did.
Christ says from this point on is void.
Nah, it's all just not
Wait,
Shrek.
maybe
Yeah.
Shrek 2's not a 10, but it is. I Need a Hero. Yeah. Sorry. As you were.
So, all right, if we're big on the style, let's or follow the phrase then. How is the substance of this movie though? So we got to look at the human stories and how that all interconnects.
I think that this movie's subject itself are supposed to be a little bit more over the top, right?
Yeah.
A little-
Because
I mean, they're all meant to be very high caliber, assassin
Assassins,
type.
yeah,
Yes.
eccentric assassins.
And the wolf.
Yeah.
He actually did what we do all the time.
who
was
had
bad.
probably the most minimal backstory of all time. It was just a scene for a wedding.
Right.
It showed his childhood in
Yeah,
40
yeah.
seconds,
Oh,
and then the
yeah.
wedding, and then that was it.
Yeah.
There
I didn't
was
care
one
about
of the
him at
guys. It looked like he had been puked. He was bald, and there was just puke completely covering his bald head.
Ugh.
It looked bad.
What about Zazie Beetz, randomly getting
Oh,
another
the
cameo?
nurse, right? Yeah.
No, was she the nurse? Yeah.
Yeah, she's the nurse.
She was the
she's
poisoner.
Yeah, I tell you what. Let's talk about cameos now.
There
Okay.
it is.
Because-
all right, let's get it out of the way.
I tell you, I liked it when Channing Tatum was on camera. I thought they used
He
him in a
was
fun,
funny.
interesting way.
Channing Tatum was a great cameo by nature, right?
Hateful Eight.
No.
Well, he's in This Is the End.
Yeah.
This is
Remember?
the end.
That was his
great.
best
This is-
cameo.
it is,
Of
right.
course. But then they just to me, we're just look how much money we got. We can get these big name actors on here for no reason, like Ryan Reynolds being Cutter for 15 seconds.
I love it.
Just that's not
I liked
needed.
that.
I liked
and,
that.
And then not Hillary, Sandra Bullock being
Yes.
at the end for a long cameo. It's this isn't needed.
Well, at that point, you give her. She's a role, not a cameo, because she's a
Also,
voice
yeah, I mean,
throughout the
she's
film.
Sandra
been
Bullock
voicing it.
hasn't been in anything in
20
8
years.
years.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
No, she was.
Oh, was she in
Bird?
Shrek 2? Is that the last one you remember her in?
No.
Okay then.
The Bird Box.
Yeah, that was the last
that
one we've
was
seen.
probably about
That's
7
the last-
years ago.
that was
yeah,
huge.
that was right around. That's been about 4 years now. It was right 2020.
It was massive when it came out,
It
though.
might have been before
It was a
COVID.
2020
It was
movie.
well before COVID.
Yeah.
That's beside the point. The fact is, too many cameos in this
Sure.
movie for me.
Well, okay, and so cameos and roles, okay. So to your point, who's playing what characters for how long? For splitting the hairs between cameos versus roles. The cameos didn't bother me. The roles I thought were all good, but one was really weird to me, and it's Michael Shannon as the Yakuza boss.
Yeah.
He was just cast poorly.
Yeah, it just didn't feel right or organic. And if you're gonna do some sort of Russian, the story and stuff made sense to make him obviously the
Yeah.
whitewashed version of this.
He
I'm
plays
okay.
a good villain
Yeah.
in a lot of things. but
He's a
maybe
good
not
villain,
in
but
this.
it just didn't land in this. I didn't get particular deep Russian vibes or anything like that. And you pointed out he was oh yeah, probably this is easily just a Mads Mikkelsen cast. You don't think twice, right? And Mads was clearly busy. And then Michael Shannon was walking down the street because
What's the dude that plays Sabretooth?
Liev Schreiber.
Yeah, Liev Schreiber. Any of those, he would
Yeah.
have been a great
Just
one.
Somebody
Right.
intimidating, because this guy has been hyped up the whole movie.
Yeah.
I mean, and we'll talk about this scene more later, I'm sure, but has that awesome scene where he's taken down the previous regime of
Yeah.
the Yakuza or whatever, and then he comes into power, and then you finally see him this is the guy? I get that he's
He looks
older
kinda
now.
scrawny.
I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
how I took it is just that he's much older.
Older, right? But it's not even for me the physical intimidation. It just didn't feel. I don't know. Maybe it's even a bad acting thing because I've seen Michael Shannon's a great antagonist.
Oh,
like
yeah.
he's done good like bad guy roles,
But
but
True Detective or one of those like true crime type
Yeah.
movies or shows here recently. But yeah,
like and Shannon was good. It just didn't feel like right. Like it felt like he was off on like he was there on a day off, and they're like, "Can you go ahead and fill this role?" And at that point, it makes me just kind of want him to keep the mask on at that point. And I know that's kind of like a cop out
that
at
mask was
times.
cool.
Right, but I think again, cite V for Vendetta for like saying you can have a character totally behind the mask and still be like perfectly menacing and perform well and do all of that.
I mean, Vader's behind a mask.
Exactly.
For much of his
Right.
screen time.
You know, people's big thing is that after we see so many cameos, they're like, well, who's behind the mask? Is it Ryan Reynolds again? Is it this? And it's like, at that point, sure, we just show Michael Shannon.
Got rope, right?
Yeah. But I,
Whoa! We all are.
You just see like the nuke hit. Like, but overall, I just feel like that he was very much the weakest one, and he was such a big character that was the biggest ball drop for me in this whole movie. Was just that like you make him the most threatening, big, like everybody's like fucked if he is like involved in this story, and then it's just like kind of a pitter patter delivery, like.
Yeah. Fortunately, he was towards the tail end of the movie.
Yeah, it was
though.
very much
It
like the
wasn't
last 20 minutes and just
yeah.
like neither here nor there.
Brad Pitt was really fun though.
Dude, he was
I
great the whole
really
time.
enjoyed Brad Pitt
You
a
know,
lot.
speaking of Snatch, Brad Pitt himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also we have a therapist in this movie, or at least talks of one, right, Dylan?
Oh, we do.
He
There
talks about
is!
or he talks about him all the time during it.
Yeah, and honestly, sounds like
He
doing a
does.
great job, right? They're
That's
like,
what I thought.
you know, maybe
I mean, if you
we
can-
don't
if
kill
you can
people.
Crack like a killer like that.
Yeah.
You're probably doing pretty well.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
doing okay. Yeah, so good portrayal of therapy. I didn't have the strongest rewatch on this one. This was more of a
That's okay.
reskim.
They kept saying his name. They were like, "Oh yeah, Ralph always says
Yeah.
blah 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 blah."
And
blah.
I remember thinking on the first watch, I'm like, when is Ralph gonna just pop on his train and
You
get
need
killed?
Ralph
Like,
on
right.
a shot.
I
yeah.
know, yeah, and then Ralph would have been a cameo, but no. Overall, I think I had a lot of fun with this movie. This movie is one of those ones you don't have to think too deeply on, and if you're just enjoying the character experience and the interactions, that's 75% of the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways,
I'll tell you one interaction I didn't like. It's something you can tell they paid a lot of
Here we
of
go.
money for
oh, here it is.
because they name dropped it a ton, and
Oh,
that is freaking Thomas
Okay.
the Tank Engine. They beat this drum. They beat this poor
Public
train
domain.
into the ground. Mason, you
Yeah.
shush over
Is it,
there.
no, he's got a good
You know,
question. It has to be
I
public
think-
domain,
I
right?
think he might be a diesel.
I
I think
is.
Bryce is the diesel of the
He
group.
is. He is.
Either that or he's a Percy because he
I-
doesn't have much going on.
Yeah.
All right, so I counted because I remember the first time I watched this movie, I was like, they mentioned him a lot, but I don't remember. Then I had to watch this movie again for this,
Yeah.
and I counted every single time they mentioned Thomas the Tank Engine.
And how many
Now
counts
this is
was
the
it?
now this is the qualifier. I did not count like if they said like if I said Thomas the Tank Engine, that was one count.
Yeah.
If they kept talking about it, that's still one count.
Yeah, it's still in the same
It's
reference.
still the
Okay.
same
Yeah.
mention.
Okay.
So I counted each particular time someone mentioned him or talked about it. At the end of the movie, I counted 17 times.
Oh, I was 10 off.
There were-
a huge number.
There were 17 different mentions of Thomas the Tank Engine throughout this movie, and I wanted to throw.
Did you? Okay.
Did
but-
you count the sticker being on the
No,
suit?
no.
Okay.
No,
just
they
the
have
just the
to
vocal
say-
reference. Vocal reference.
Like,
Also-
like Diesel, Thomas.
I'm gonna say this
Like
too. While Price was probably busy counting, those jokes were kind of funny. Like
Yeah.
at least half of the 17, I was like, oh haha.
Yeah.
Because
It gets pretty old at time number 13, though, when you
especially
hear
when you're counting.
So-
Yeah, well, when
I'm
you're
sure it
counting,
does.
Why does this make you so hot? Like, categorically, that's poor use of.
No,
I
I
because
think it's
script.
poor use when you're paying attention to it. It's supposed
I'm
to
paying
just be
attention to
funny.
the damn movie!
No, you're not. You're paying attention to one
All right.
property that it might say.
all right. Here,
Because they say it 17 times!
here let me
Thank
type
you for
in,
letting me
type
know.
in. So here's the point, right? What's the name of this movie?
Bullet train.
And they are on a.
Train.
Not
And
see a
then
correlation
they-
here.
And then they referenced a.
They could have got their
No,
point
but they
across.
referenced. Answer the question.
A
They-
train.
A train.
An animated train.
Yeah.
So
they're
they're
just making sure that you know what you're on.
Yeah.
You know what? You,
And that is really freaking stupid. They could have got their point across in 5 mentions of this and then been done with it, but no, they do it
Dude,
17 times.
I think maybe one of the reasons why I didn't notice it is because like what probably the two best characters of the whole movie or the best group of
Yeah.
the movie is Lemon and
Tangerine.
Tangerine.
Lemon and Tangerine. yeah.
Because everything that comes out of Lemon's mouth is Thomas the Train or some kind of reference to. Like at one point he just slides one in. I'm sure you caught it.
Mhm.
Whenever he's like, oh yeah, like the other guy was asking, what is this character? What is this animated character? And he's like, oh, it's such and such. It comes on right after Tom at 3:00 on the BBC or at the Japan's network or whatever.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just he was grown up with Thomas the Train, and he's obviously actively watching Thomas the Train at 3 p.m. every single day.
Right.
That's
The fact that he could tell you on the moment, like, what
Yes.
its still air date is.
Yes.
The first mention of Thomas Tank Engine, I appreciated it. All the other times I hated it, except there was one part at the end that I very
Was
much
it the
enjoyed.
sticker reveal?
No, it
Or
was when the train's out of control,
Yeah.
and Brad Pitt's like, "You love Thomas the Tank Engine, can't you take over?" It's like they never teach you how to drive the train. I was like, "All right, that one,
Yeah.
I'll give it that one," but the other 15 were not needed.
Also, can you imagine, like, in universe, you would be inside an anamorphic, like...
it's like
Yes.
now we're getting to talk about like cars,
Yeah,
and, like,
right.
more cars.
Yeah.
Right, like, where in the line of, like, Thomas the Tank Engine to Transformers, is it just, like, they're just sexual, right? Like, it's just crossing the line. Let us know in the comments below where you think it is on the spectrum.
This movie's also too long.
it's 2 hours
I
and like
was
2 minutes.
surprised how long it was.
This movie
is long.
Yeah, it was maybe about an hour and a half in.
You thought it was supposed to be over.
I felt like I was feeling like this is probably towards the end, and then it seemed like there was definitely a strong reason why I was going to keep going.
Right, and then there's an act 4.
So
right.
I did the check the time thing. It's like, oh,
Yep.
okay. I guess we're still in this for a lot longer than I figured.
I guess you could say I'm
I
still in my
mean, I
seat.
wasn't like bothered by that.
Sure.
But still.
When the train is about to, like, no pun intended, go off the tracks, like,
Yeah.
that's when I was like, okay, I've had so much fun with this movie already. I don't necessarily want it to keep going.
Mhm.
But, like, then you still had, like, a little bit more of a character breakdown. You still had the Sandra Bullock at the end. You still had the Yakuza guy, like,
The Wolf Resolution.
yes,
right,
all of
yeah.
that stuff. And I'm just like, man.
The Wolf Resolution.
Oh, sorry, the Yakuza boss, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, you still had Joey King come out and do, like, her little reveal and all this stuff. And I was like, man.
Yeah, outstanding.
And then you had the last brief moment of like Lemon being the one that runs over her with the tangerine.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Pretty good.
So
Yeah,
it's just
pretty
one of
damn good.
those.
Yeah.
I agree. I do think it's too long, and I think,
Yeah.
well,
That CGI train wreck though is a train wreck.
Yeah, they went ahead and said, we don't need the CGI.
we
to
spent
be
too
that
much
good."
money on
We-
cast.
Oh my god. You got Ryan Reynolds. He just sold cricket or whatever. He has too much to get a cameo on. No, I think that there is something like that the overall train derailing aspect of it. I remember thinking when I saw it in the trailer, I was like, and that was the part that I saw in the trailer. I'm like, this movie's gonna kind of suck. Like, it's a good premise, but I'm like, right when the train stops being on the rails, so to speak.
That's the thing about train movies, though, right? You had Train to Busan. You
Yeah.
also had
And you know what? It stayed on the rail the
Snowpiercer?
entire time.
Well,
Snowpiercer, yeah. On the
Snowpiercer,
rails
and then there's
until the end.
also, oh my gosh, what is that one that's like Unbreakable or Unstoppable?
Yeah, something.
That one, it always ends in a train. There's one resolution, and it's a train wreck at the very end.
Why
of these
can't
movies.
trains in a Hollywood? What is Hollywood?
They have to
against
stay on the
trains?
rails somehow.
No, you
Come
know.
on.
All right, here's my like 10-hat theory, and then we're gonna transition segments unless we got anything else to mention. Is that Hollywood does not want trains to ever be reliable because we as a country do not want to fucking push trains as a reasonable method of transportation, even though it's wildly efficient and
So
effective.
everything they produce that has to come off the track.
Yeah,
and crash
every time,
badly.
dude. Name a train movie, not a western. They don't count because they're
True.
just background ones. With train being the primary focus of transportation, that it doesn't fucking derail.
Wild Wild West.
Oh, the
It's probably derails at some
the
point.
snake
Yeah.
probably
The-
did. The big spider
the
derails.
Murder on the Orient Express.
That's true. That one
Okay,
stays
that
on.
one- you know what?
But
That
there is
one-
a murder in it.
Yeah.
So also a
But-
little
well,
gray area.
So you're not safe even if you do ride the train, even if it does make it to the destination.
Touche.
The whole crew, spoiler, will
I
kill
mean,
you.
you have to have a story on the train, and what are you gonna have a peaceful story on the
Just
train?
hanging
Yes.
out.
when
why can't
when
we
one
have-
of them
I
served a
love
really
this
good
train.
bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we? Yeah, my Suburban shit one of these. Like, our problem is that we don't have like giant truck trains, right? We don't have diesels, if you will, and we're back 20.
Hey.
So, next segment. Fat
I have
Thing.
a question. Real
We already
quick.
said it's fat.
All right, I have two. The first one's just funny.
Why?
I love that. I
Alright.
love multiple.
Would you guys rather watch this movie again or
Uh-huh.
attend a train concert?
Wait, like the band?
Yes.
Train? No,
I'll take getting hit with a train over the train concert. So I'll take the movie.
Well, we would arrange that, but here in America, we don't really believe in them for commercial transport. So
That is true.
I mean, somebody recently got hit by a train here in town.
Yeah.
That's right. That did happen.
Yeah,
What?
It can still happen.
Propaganda.
No, he was
They were-
racing.
Yeah.
Is that what you heard? I heard.
No,
that they were
I
racing
didn't
the
hear any
train.
details. All I know is
What?
it, like in a car,
Yeah.
like got hit by the train. Anyway,
That is
That's a
fascinating.
lot of car error more than a train error,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Trains are just gonna stay on their track. Like,
Yeah,
it's,
bro.
It's always gonna be.
We have the most predictable path possible.
Yeah.
If you get in the way of that, that is a you
And
problem.
it's
not
usually
the
like
train
blinking and
Yeah.
stuff, and it's gonna
Yeah.
come
Or
by.
there's
So-
arms.
Sometimes it doesn't. That did happen in Jason County.
I love the headline: Police respond to train versus vehicle. Right?
Wow.
Wonder who won.
I bet the train won.
Spoiler.
It's like that Rick and
It's
Morty,
10
like
tons
it's
of
man versus
unstoppable
car.
To your answer your question though, yeah, I'd watch this movie again than going to a train concert.
I'm just glad we're all in a unanimous decision on
Who
that.
listens to Train? If you listen, let us know in the comments
Thank you,
below.
WBKO.
Thick abs. Though.
That's what I
Wait, so
need.
what's the other question?
The other question is, what's the best train movie we've seen on this podcast?
What are the options?
This Train to
Train to
Busan.
Busan.
Train to Busan.
Did we watch Snowpiercer on this
Isn't that-
podcast?
No,
no,
we
we
haven't.
haven't. Okay.
So it's just two
Great movie.
options. Like the
It's
question
just the
is,
two
Oh, I'm
options.
sorry.
This
What's the
is-
best train movie we watched on this podcast?
Easily it's Bullet Train.
Okay.
Yeah. Busan pissed me off by the time it was.
Yeah,
also-
Dylan wasn't happy.
Go watch the review.
That's
You'll.
okay.
I don't even remember why I was mad about it, but I do remember it made me mad.
I mean, I feel like it's a pretty close call.
It is. I mean, I think they're both
Because they're
fun
both very
and
good.
Yeah,
they
and they're
do
both
what
very
they
different.
need.
To
too,
me, Train to
so-
Busan knows what it is and fits into those constraints and does a very good job at what it's trying to do. Bullet Train bites off a whole lot and doesn't succeed fully in any
The train
category.
never fully goes off the rail in Train to Busan. Am I imagining
It
that?
doesn't.
You know, there
It
is
just
a
pulls into
train
the
that
station and
flips
then they get onto
over.
a new one.
Yeah,
There
they
is a
just
train that
change
flips
tracks.
over.
Oh, but that's not the one that they're on.
I don't know if it's that one.
It's like another
because,
one.
yeah.
It's all right, but that makes sense because it's in Asia where trains do go, and they're showing reliability across the board.
Yes.
2 out of 3 of our trains function great, even if zombies invade.
Yeah. You're gonna get some kind of positive numbers.
Yeah,
Nathan, what was your pick?
Oh,
you were waffling. Which one is it? Gun to your head, bro. Just
Ain't
pick
right at
one.
the house. You can't waffle here.
Thanks.
I feel like it's just recency bias, but I guess I would say Bullet Train.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But that's
And you're a Busan boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd honestly probably say Train to Busan. I liked this one, and I think that it was a very fun watch. It's just, it's a little hefty.
I also like Train to Busan a little extra because that was when we were picking for each other. And I got Train to Busan, Brokeback Mountain,
Yeah.
and The Fountain. So you know
Yeah.
what?
Great picks all around, boys.
I'm not Dylan let me watch Brokeback Mountain against my will, finally. That was my favorite part.
Yeah.
Very scores.
Fat Thin.
We already said fat.
I think it's
Yeah.
fit.
You already said fat. You said it's too long.
Yeah. It's
And
too
you
long.
can't do your you can't do your Dylan Camacho. It's fit, but I would change blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I would just cut out the last
That's
act.
fat. That's
Because,
fat. then.
because there's an act 4, right? Like
yeah.
that's not needed.
yeah,
Like
there's an
yeah.
act 4. This movie did not actually need.
Yeah,
even
it doesn't actually need it. I mean, I don't know. Whenever it's entertaining, I'm not gonna
Right, you're
like,
not gonna
have a
complain about
problem
more.
with it just
Right.
continuing to go on myself.
If Boris got killed for a 3rd time in Snatch, I would wonder, is this what I want or what? But I'm like, probably like it. I found it funny the other 2 times.
Or
They're-
Taquito.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. If the movie could just been Nikito with 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh god, both of these movies have a wolf.
Whoa!
My
Of
score's
course.
up. My
Yeah.
score's going up now.
Go ahead.
There is a wolf, so I'm giving this movie a 10.
No.
No,
Alright.
this is certainly not a 10.
Mhm.
There's a lot to like about this movie. Again, I keep mentioning Brad Pitt. I thought he was really fun. I mean, I really like it when he gets to flex his comedic muscles a little bit.
Mhm.
Because he does get typecast a lot as the pretty boy a lot. Pretty
Dude,
boy
he was
dramatic
suave
kinda
in this
actor.
movie.
Yeah.
He was, but he was still funny at the
Yeah,
same time.
He
Like,
played the middle ground, right? Really well. He was somewhere between
he was
Fight Club and
he was
Snatch.
easily my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah.
I think again we keep comparing it to Snatch, and that does not do this movie any favors because it
Snatch is
tries
great.
to be a movie like that and doesn't do that well at all. The action's not too impressive. I mean, the characters are not impressive at all. Lemon and Tangerine pretty much just talk to each other in quips. Got kind of tired of that after a while. Thomas the Tank Engine really got on my nerves a lot.
I didn't
So for
notice.
that reason, I'm gonna give it a 1.5.
Yeah.
And
right.
then the soundtrack also is not good.
Oh, fuck.
So
it might be.
I would probably put this movie about a 3.5. I mean, it's not terrible,
Gotcha.
but it's not something I ever want to rewatch again at all. If this was on my first watch, I may have given this like a 5 or a 6, but since I'm having to rewatch it, it just makes the score go down, unfortunately.
Wonder what that would mean for a rewatch for me then. I just watched it.
Yeah.
Like
This
an
was your
hour
first
ago.
watch.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Like
So,
just an hour.
pretty fresh on it.
Mhm.
Found it really enjoyable. I mean, there was that moment where it was near the end, I thought, and was surprised to see that it still had another 30 minutes left to go.
Still had a train wreck and a
Yeah.
big reveal to go.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I didn't dislike my time with it. I didn't think the characters were that bad. I thought they were all pretty entertaining. I liked the constant weaving in of stuff and like the explanation of why everybody's there. Eventually, it's like it's very Snatch like in the sense of like you've got a whole bunch of disparate characters being drawn into one place to interact with one another. Being told through a lot of flashbacks. So, I feel like I'd probably say it's an 8.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't dislike the action. I thought the visuals were really good. I didn't hate the music either. So
The
yeah.
Japanese I
Each
Need a
their
Hero was actually a nice touch. Like
Like,
it wasn't
yeah,
the standard.
That's the thing that made me not have a problem with that, I guess.
Right.
I did like the song they used during the Wolves flashback.
Mhm.
I like that song. That song
Yeah,
was
which
pretty
one it
cool.
was.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was, but I remember I liked it a lot.
It would be like if Dragula played in Japanese. You know,
Oh,
it's like man, we've heard that song a lot, but
If
it's kind of good.
If Dracula played, this gets 2 extra points.
if Dracula plays period, it always gets an extra 2 points. If it's a perfect movie, it just goes to 12. Dude, so real quick before my score, I recently put that into my my gym playlist,
Hell
and it's
yeah.
paid off in spades, bro.
Have you seen these fucking packs?
Yeah.
These games.
No, I'm trying to slim right now. We're doing more cardio than anything. So.
Oh, good point.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
into the summer
But it's a good
months.
cardio song because you're sitting there out of nowhere. It's just like, and it's got that slow intro. But
No,
then
you're
you
going
know
hard
it is.
now, though.
Yeah, and it's like
You
heartbeat.
do rows with really high resistance.
Anything you can do to the tempo of it, it's usually right around like the sit-up routine. For
Dear
me.
God, please continue.
Anyway, so this is either an okay movie that's really good or a good movie that's kind of underperforming in my head. So that puts it right in the perfect 7.5 territory. I think that again, the movie being fat does create some problems for me score-wise, and the ending doesn't feel particularly like amazingly worth it, right? And if we're gonna unfairly but kind of fairly compare it to Snatch has like kind of like this beautiful culmination of all the endings in a really good way. This one just kind of has everybody crashing into each other to a degree.
Well, and it has like most of the people suddenly deciding like, yeah, we're gonna work together.
Yes,
Exactly.
right. And now it's just like it's like this movie could have been more interesting if they got to that idea sooner and then fleshed out like the third act instead of it being like acts 1, 2, 3, and then kind of like an act 4, right?
Yeah.
Instead of it just was like this clunky transition between derail. Now we're all in survival mode, I guess. And I guess
Well,
we're all friends. Like,
Lemon and Brad Pitt's character do like work together
They
there
do
for a
kind
little
of
bit,
early
and then they
on,
like
right.
they're against each other again, and then they all kind of come together.
They
Right.
had a good dynamic.
Yeah, they did.
I think the frenemies dynamic between them was like pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not many bad things aside from that. I thought Joey King's character was like a notable standout in this one. Like her, just like kind of mystique and intrigue behind it was like
And her
okay.
outfit
Yeah.
versus everything else.
Yeah.
She was the very bright pink
Yes.
suit versus all this other dark black.
And then even seeing the big like what am I thinking? The mascot character all pay
Yeah,
off in the
that was
flashbacks
cool.
and stuff, right?
Punched right in the
It was
face.
so obvious out of the start. It's like that's gonna be somebody.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like somebody is in that costume.
I don't-
on purpose.
I
It
don't-
did help though that you didn't know who it was
Yeah.
until the reveal though.
I've never seen a mascot in a train in Japan.
I
Ever.
Right,
She
you
would
only-
take up like 4 seats.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
yeah.
very
like
standout.
there's no way you could get through that train
No.
Right.
with that suit.
I think overall though, like the movie's like flavor and tone and all of that came out really well. I think that the movie showed its creativity in a good way, and I didn't feel like it was like stylish for the sake of just being stylish. It definitely had some substance behind it, but it just didn't tie all together as nice and neatly by the time it was all said and done. So yeah, that's where it just lands on 7.5 for me. If it wanted to do a little bit better, then it would just kind of like stick the landing or smooth out the tail end of the film.
I'm gonna agree with most everything that Dylan said. I do think that this movie shot for a certain direction. I think it landed mostly in that direction. I loved the cameos, and I loved all of those flashbacks. Like even when Lemon and Tangerine were talking about where they saw Brad Pitt. They were like, in Bolivia, and then like they flash back to
Yeah.
like them just like throwing bodies in a barrel for some reason,
I
or
think
like
it's a
shooting.
wood chipper.
Yeah, it's a wood
that's what it
chipper.
was.
Yeah,
And then he got like shot. You know, it's like there was multiple flashbacks. My only qualm with this movie, I guess there's two. I wish there was more flashbacks for one, because that kill count one was incredible. Like the fourth wall breaking, like they were just staring at you, being like, "That's 4, that's 5." The guy on the motorcycle, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And the other qualm is just the ending. I wish it was a little bit better, but it doesn't take away too much. I gave this movie an 8.5, just because I do think that it's very well put together, and also Brad Pitt basically was introduced first, besides the son, or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
But for Brad Pitt to be on this thing and not feel like a main character is great.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot believe that I couldn't believe that he's even in the thing.
The character like the balancing of character
Yes.
time and screen time and stuff like that I thought was a pretty good job.
It had
Like-
plenty of time to work with.
He had just as much screen time as the guy that you didn't know who his name was, the guy that Joey King had like prisoner the whole time.
Oh yeah, we
Like-
didn't even talk about that guy.
Exactly. Like they had the exact same amount of screen time, and I think that the guy who was prisoner the whole time was just as interesting and had like some pretty cool dynamic. I mean, he
Right.
only had his son that was sick and got pushed off the roof, but
Mhm.
still, it was good. They drew every character out, I think, very well.
Yeah.
Even Zazie Beetz, even though she was alive for like 4 minutes after she was
Yeah.
revealed, like I don't know, I thought it was cool.
It was funny after Brad Pitt stabbed her with the poison, and then she starts dying. She's like, "You need water? Is that what you
Are
need?"
you? What do you?
Why are you crawling away?
Right. Oh no. Yeah.
Or like whenever he was killing the wolf, he was like, "I don't know you."
Yeah. Like, why are you doing this?
Grab it, Nathan. Grab it.
Without
Grab
further ado,
Grab it by the shaft.
it's the wheel time. Go ahead, Price. Spin.
Hell yeah! It's my will, my time.
Come on, Willie.
Willies.
Ooh, Billy Madison.
Billy Madison! Oh yeah.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's all right. It's a 10.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Fine.
One of us may give it that.
It's been so long since
Can we
I've
watch
seen
Happy
that.
Gilmore instead?
No.
Yes. It's like the same movie, right?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that
That's
one more.
okay.
Shooter McGavin's a better hill. Anyway, that's gonna be the show for today. If you
I've been in 2 homes with cats. Okay.
bless you.
I'm doing great.
If you like the content we're doing, as always, make sure to give us a big old fat thumbs up. And while you're right next to that big thumbs up, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell
Please don't.
so that you know whenever we put out all of our great content, especially with movie review stuff. If you want to catch our other wacky stuff, make sure to tune into other parts of the channel. Final Fantasy stuff seems to be doing pretty good, and if you're from Final
It does.
Fantasy, hey, welcome. Hope you enjoyed the movie review.
You may be getting a story time in your next video.
Yeah, and you'll probably get that video sooner rather than
Oh,
this
than this
video
one,
drops.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will be a while.
This will be
after.
Christmas, probably.
No,
No, I don't know how far.
What
What month is
we,
it? We're almost
the
back.
last video we just did.
The season wrap actually
Oh,
just
the
dropped
last one.
recently.
Really?
Yeah, no, I watched it. And we introduced the last. What was the next video? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Anyway,
sorry.
It's
That's- yeah. Make sure to tune in next week for Billy Madison. Until then, bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
I've got a Mountain Dew slushie to drink.
Yeah.
You do, and it's like mostly Mountain Dew.